All right, welcome to Please Allow Me to Introduce Myself, the podcast where Ziggy and I interview former Red Devil basketball players and learn their story and find out all that we can about them. Ziggy, tell me how we ended up getting Brad Litchfield on.
Yeah, well, as we said last time, I had this idea that we should be bringing people back into the program. We should start this podcast with interviewing some all-time greats that just haven't been around at Alumni Hoops weekends. So today we're interviewing Brad Litchfield, an all-time great, graduated in 2006. I reached out to him, over a year ago when we were doing the Century Club, and I've kind of built a relationship with him. And was one of the first people I thought of when we were thinking about who to interview.
Well, so let me run you through some of Brad's stats. Good Central Pennsylvania guy. You're gonna be impressed by his stats. So if you look at the leaderboard, the record books for Red Devil basketball, Brad shows up 24 times. He is 7th in all-time scoring for men, 3rd in three-pointers made for a career, 2nd in three-pointers attempted, and 1st in free throw percentage career, 86%. He was a 36% shooter from three. So he's a very good player on teams from 03 to 06. So Bram, Ziggy, as you're known to most of us, why don't we meet Brad Litchfield and let's find out what his story is. Let him introduce himself.
Sounds great.
All right, Ziggy, we got Brad with us.
Cool.
We already talked about his.
I'm excited
talked about
for
his
this
stats. Yeah.
So I've never met Brad, and he played before streaming, so I really didn't get a sense to watch him play, but I certainly knew about him. He's an all-time great. He, like our first guest, is all over the record book. I mean, just Google it; it's ridiculous. But met him last year when we were fundraising for the Century Club and told him, hey, we want you back, right? You're an important player. We want you back in the program. So I'm thrilled to have him on our podcast.
Yeah. So, Brad, tell us. So you went to Dickinson. You played hoops there. Yep. I think I got you at 03 to 06, right? And I remember seeing you play. But tell us a little bit. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to high school? And then we'll ask you some other good stuff.
Yeah, great. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's great to be here. I love talking Dickinson basketball. So I'm originally from Williamsport, Pennsylvania. I went to a high school called Bishop Newman High School, and a small Catholic high school. And it was one of those situations where my dad was a high school coach. My whole life's high school coach in there for 25 years. Came from an athletic family. My grandfather was a football coach. And so I played for my dad for 4 years at Bishop Newman. It's now known as St. John Newman Regional Academy, and they've had some pretty good runs recently there in the state finals a couple years ago. But, I grew up going to through the basketball circuit, 5-star basketball camp, Eastern Invitational. And I was really exposed to a lot of great people, a lot of good talent. And, coming out of high school, mainly recruited by Division III and Division II, a couple of PSAC schools. And I still had actually 2 Division I schools still looking at me my senior year, Air Force Academy and Coastal Carolina University.
Wow.
And, but ultimately, I decided to go to Dickinson over some schools like NYU, University of Chicago, Gettysburg, Lycoming. Of course, I looked at being right from Williamsport, who had a good program at the time. So, that's kind of that's where I came from high school wise. Had a good career. We made a couple runs in the state playoffs. Fortunate enough to be a 2,000-point scorer in high school.
I was gonna say I don't know if Ziggy knew that, but I remember you were getting recruited because Coach Froman was talking to me, and I remember then looking forward to watching you play. Because I remembered you were a 2,000-point scorer in Pennsylvania, and I was like, "Hey, I don't think we had a ton of those at Dickinson that I know of."
So we've had none at Dickinson, but we'll know that after we hang the 1,000-point scorer banner on February 20th, Coach. But so I had a question, but you just answered it because I was going to ask, you played for your dad. Were you a 4-year starter for your dad? But if you scored 2,000 points, I think I know the answer to that, right?
I was, yeah.
So, but now what I want to know is you're a 2,000-point scorer. You're an excellent high school basketball player. You have some D1 offers. You decide to go to Dickinson. I want to know why. Like, we know why you didn't go to Gettysburg, right? That's obvious. But, like, why Dickinson over NYU, University of Chicago? Because part of what we care about is this program and getting good players. And so I want to hear your experience back in the fall of 2002. Why did you end up at Dickinson?
Yeah, so like you guys said, Coach Froman was a very good recruiter, and he recruited me and a handful of other people at around the same time, and really sold the academics. Dickinson. My mom was one of those moms that really scoured the U.S. News rankings and knew exactly where Dickinson was. And there was actually a very prominent family in our area whose daughter was a year above me, and she went to Dickinson. So it was kind of on our radar from that as well. But he sold the academic piece. I saw an opportunity in the basketball program to be able to come and contribute right away. Love the campus. Love the people that I came in contact with, from the coaching staff to the admissions officers to professors. And, I was sold. It was 2.5 hours from home, right distance. I was sold.
So I got 2 comments to that. I do think Froman was a great recruiter, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got some good players. What did you think of the Klein?
The Klein was a kind of a question mark in my head, honestly, because the structure was neat. But the court, being a rubber court, and I played on that rubber court only for 1 year. Then we got the UConn court that my sophomore year get across the baseline. My sophomore year with the whole Civic Center logo.
And then that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. The women's team loved it, of course, because all the great UConn teams that play on it.
Right.
But we got the regular court then my junior year.
Oh, that's a great story. Yeah. Okay. So I've always loved the Klein. I always loved the building. I've always loved the shape. I always loved the, kind of cavernous, but the floor, we played 4 years on that floor. The floor stunk. Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. But other than that, the Klein was great. I mean, it's still great.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Love the building.
So tell us about some of the teams you played on. Who were you? How good were you guys? I remember you being competitive, but I don't remember exactly who was on those teams at that point.
Yeah, so so record-wise, we didn't have a lot of success. We were kind of a bridge between those good 90s teams and then the teams that Coach Soretti started developing and winning championships. My freshman year, we had 2 all-conference level players. Billy Hagan was the point guard our freshman year, and he was coming off second team All-Centennial the year before that. And then we had John Schwadron, who was kind of a rebounding machine. He averaged like 13, 14 rebounds a game. So, that's who I played with my freshman year. Sophomore year, then Jimmy Martelli, who's now, you guys probably know, the coach, the assistant coach at Penn State. We still stay in touch every now and then. He transfer from Scranton, so he was on the team sophomore year. And I'm trying to think. Also, we had a couple of good players in my class. We had Matt Keys, a Carlisle product, who ended up being an all-conference player our junior year. We had Travis Dahl from New Oxford, and another guy, Tommy Dowd. He only ended up playing 2 years, Tommy, but he and I became very close friends and still stay in touch pretty regularly to this day.
Yeah, Ziggy's right. Like those teams were playing. I played for 2 years for Coach Froman after Coach Evans retired, and then coached for him for 2 years. So we were the beginning of his career there, and those teams towards the end of his career, we missed out because we had jobs and we moved out of the area, and we lost a little bit of touch, and we couldn't stream stuff. And I remember coming to see you play. I saw you play probably 4 or 5 times in your career, but we're just not as familiar with that group of guys because we just couldn't watch you. And you certainly get to that age in life, and you're having kids, and it's harder. And so I was glad I saw you, but I couldn't remember how good you guys were. And but those guys were players. I mean, Hagan was a player. Schwadron was a player. Those guys are good players.
So I want to follow up on. Sorry, Cope, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ziggy. Go ahead.
I want to follow up on this a little bit, right? Because it just seems like the modern kid, if not modern athlete, is not as inclined to stick it out. So here you are, a 2,000-point high school scorer, great player, right? And you go to Dickinson, and you just said that we weren't super successful, right?
Right.
But you stuck it out, and you stayed 4 years, and you're your seventh all-time leading scorer.
Mm-hmm.
I run the mentor program, and I've lost 3 mentors and mentees in the last 5 years because they've transferred.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just want to hear from you. Like, why'd you stick it out?
It's funny that you mentioned like today's athletes, and I think much more so with NIL, and it's kind of like the thing to do, right? It's like you that's what you're supposed to do, or maybe that's what the expectation is. You stay at a place for a year or two, then you transfer. I mean, obviously with the bigger Division I schools, and I guess that's maybe made its way down to the Division III level just as a trend. But no, I mean, I think persistence and resilience was extremely important. My freshman year, we won 8 games. My sophomore year, we won 5. My junior year, we were 8-7. We had just knocked off Franklin and Marshall, who was ranked at Franklin and Marshall, went to 8-7. Next game, we lost at the buzzer to Hopkins. Next game, we lost in overtime to Swarthmore, and then we kind of just lost it out. But we really should have made the playoffs that year. That was probably our best team that I was on. So we ended up losing our last 10 games of the season, and then my senior year wasn't much different. But it's a persistence thing. And I had talked to my dad, I had talked to my grandfather about it being tough and not winning many games. And I remember my grandfather specifically said, "Don't quit." He's like, "You'll regret it. This is the last chance you got to play athletics. Don't quit. Stick it out." And I did. And that was, looking back, I have no regrets. I'm glad I stayed at Dickinson. I'm glad I stuck it out. The people I met, the connections I made, you can't trade that for anything. So that's kind of why.
Yeah, you sometimes wonder how common that is today, right? And it's Bram and I've talked about it. It's hard to play Division III basketball or anything when your team's not winning, or you're not playing, or it's mid-January and you're at the Klein and there's nobody on campus except you and the swimmers. It's hard. It's easy to leave and hang it up. And I always have a lot of admiration for anybody that goes the full 4 years, because like there's no scholarships, there's no money,
Yeah.
And half the time you wonder if anybody on campus even knows we have a basketball team sometimes, right? It's kind of the cool part of it, but it's also kind of the frustrating part if you identify yourself as a basketball player. And I know you did, because I watched how you played. I know you thought of yourself as a basketball player.
Sure.
So I
remember specifically one time over winter break, we were playing at Muhlenberg. And it was over a stretch where we were watching, top 25 teams. Duke was playing, North Carolina was playing, and they're obviously playing in front of 20, 25,000 people. Muhlenberg, their gym, it's that old gym that goes way up. And I think when we came up for warm-ups, there was probably like 7 people in the stands. And, you do think sometimes like, where am I going to get my juice from tonight? What's going to pump me up tonight? You don't have a crowd pumping you up. So you really have to dig down, and you got to find it within yourself and within your teammates. But that's what it was like.
So I want to follow up on that 0-10 comment. You lost your last 10 games. And this is something that we would talk about at the G-Man, because I'm going to tell you a story right now that I talk about the G-Man almost every year. But then I want to get your take. I want to know how often you think about that 0-10 run. So, I was on Cope's senior year team. We were good, all-time great team. So my senior year, we open up 6-1. We go 1-1 in the tip-off tournament. We go 5-0 in December. And I'll never forget, after that last game in December as a captain, I said we couldn't have had a better December. And it was true. We went 5-0. We come home, we split the Kiwanis. So we're 7-2. Right? We're decent. I'm thinking, man, Cope had a good team. We have a good team. We go 4-10 to close the season. We end up 11-13. I can tell you, I was driving yesterday and I thought about that.
Yeah.
It still bugs the S out of me.
Yeah.
Right? And I asked myself, I was a captain. I asked myself all the time, what could I have done differently? Right.
Yep.
And so I want to ask you that question. Do you ever think about that 0-10 run? And how do you think about it?
Sure. No, I think about it a lot. I think of all 4 seasons a lot, but especially that stretch where we finished 0-10. And, the thought at the time was, well, we have a good group of juniors. We'll be back the following year and have another crack at this. But we had some injuries. I had a stress fracture in my tibia that I played for sophomore, junior, and senior year. But I think about it a lot. And, what else could have I done? What could have I done as a leader? What could have I done as a teammate? Was there a game that we lost where I should have demanded everyone stick around after the game and us do a practice afterwards? But it just, that's what happened. And I'm sure I'm no different than a lot of athletes where I do have a lot of recurring dreams. You hear athletes who are retired have recurring dreams. I have, I played for Dennis Census. David Froman recruited me, but he stepped down right after recruiting me. Then Dennis Census was.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And since, Coach Census, it was his first head job. He was an assistant at Colgate and at Navy, and he's had a lot of success since he left Dickinson. He won a state championship at Allen.
Yeah.
2 years ago. But I always have a dream where I'm back at Dickinson. He wants me to go into the game, but I'm like me now, 42, out of state. And I'm like, Coach, I don't think I can go in now. I don't think I'm going to be able to, play with these guys. And he's like, no, you're going in. So that's the recurring dream that I have from Dickinson basketball.
Would you label that a stress dream?
What's that?
Would you label that a stress dream?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If we were winning the championships, I don't know that I'd have those dreams. You know what I mean? But,
I want to get Coach Census back. He and I were friends. He got that job, and it was tough sledding for he and I know his assistant Paul Burke really well. And Dennis is a great guy. Ziggy, you would have missed him, but I played against him when he was at Allentown, and then he was coaching at Gettysburg. So we were always recruiting the same guys. Like we would see each other at the same high school games, and we just became friends. And then when he came back at Dickinson, and it just didn't work out, and I always felt bad that because he was such a good player, such a good coach, and has proven to be a good coach at the high school level. I mean, that's a machine in Allentown that he coaches. So, I want to get him back because that's the kind of group of guys you're one of them, right? Like we just don't have you guys back around too much. It's sort of like that lost, don't you think, Ziggy? It's like that lost 5 or 6 year group.
Yeah, it's a lost era, but Brad's going to help us get some of those guys back, and I look forward to meeting them. I look forward to meeting them.
Yeah. Okay, so you graduate from Dickinson. Let's just go chronologically for a little bit. You coached. So tell us where you coached first, and then you've been in and around education your whole career, right? So tell us about what you did after college.
Let me ask you one question on the way to that, though, because when we talked to a lot of these players about mentorship and networking, a lot it's like, I don't know what I want to do. And we're always like, we didn't know what we wanted to do, right? Yeah. So Brad, before you tell us what you thought you wanted to do in May of 2006.
Yeah, so like I said, I came from a basketball coaching family. Both my dad and my grandfather were both teachers and coaches. So I thought what I was going to do is I was going to try my hand at college coaching, but eventually probably end up in high school coaching. And at the time, I took my GREs, and I was set to go to Villanova to become a guidance, go to school to become a guidance counselor. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a guidance counselor. I wanted to coach high school basketball, and that's what I thought. Yeah, sure. But instead, what happened was an opportunity. I graduated, moved back home to Williamsport, and there was an opportunity on Don Friday's staff at Lycoming College. Now, Donnie's built a great program. He did it Lycoming. I mean, Mark, you know him.
Yeah.
West Coast.
I know him from Lebanon Valley. Yeah. He's a really good friend of mine. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I remember you stopped in one day in the office. I remember that was one of the last times I might have seen you.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I did that for a year, kind of on a full-time basis, but it was a part-time job. And, Don was really good to me, and he and I still stay in touch. And then that led to an opportunity the next year to be an assistant coach and residence director at Juniata College under Greg Curley. And both of those years were good experiences. We had winning records both years. And, but I always knew I wanted to go back to graduate school. And so I love the coaching aspect. I tell people, they're like, why'd you get out of coaching? Well, look, I loved it, but both stops, I was in the middle of Pennsylvania. and I was going to Philly, to Pittsburgh, to DC, to Baltimore, to New York, and I would get back at 2 or 3 in the morning. So it's the recruiting aspect that I think really wore on me. So I ended up enrolling at Temple University full time in their PhD in educational psychology. And I kind of taught there for 4 years, undergraduate classes while I got my doctorate.
Yeah. And I looked, you got a doctorate in predictive analytics and organizational decision making. Yep. And maybe you two can explain to me what that stuff means, because I was like, that sounds a lot like quantitative stuff, Ziggy. That's your wheelhouse.
And Brad, you did it in 4 years. That's quick.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
Good for you.
Yeah. And it was Temple. I ended up being there for 8 years total, because I ended up working there for a couple years after I got my doctorate. I was fortunate there. And
then where'd you go from there? Because I saw, I was tracking where you went. So you went from there to Rider?
Yeah, I did. I thought I wanted to be a professor, and that was kind of where my career was going. But I ended up meeting with the dean of the College of Education at Temple, and he knew kind of my quantitative work. So he gave me a job where I was exposed to the budget and also doing some other kind of statistical modeling for him. So that led to an opportunity at Rider University. My then wife and I had our first child, Kennedy, who's now 9 years old, our daughter. I also have a 7-year-old son, Braden. But I was able to move to Rider University in the provost's office. I became the director of institutional research there, and in a couple of years, I became assistant provost, which is like assistant vice president. And then in I guess it was July 2022, is when I took the post at Montclair State University. It's the second biggest university in New Jersey. We have 24,000 students. A lot of people don't know that. And was recently promoted to associate vice president at Montclair State for academic finance and operations.
It's a great town.
It is. Beautiful town. I'm up in Bloomfield right now as we speak.
Understood.
So, yeah.
For those who don't know, that's basically Bram's hometown.
Well,
that's why. Yeah.
Bloomfield is the home of Allah Abdul Nabi.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Former Duke star.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler was shooting his new Netflix series with his daughter, and they filmed a lot on Montclair State's campus this past summer. And he was around playing pickup in Bloomfield and Montclair. So I didn't see him. I didn't see him at any of them. But
you didn't take it to him and show him what real basketball is like. You didn't do that.
Yeah, no, I would have. I would have been happy just to be playing with him.
I just watched an interview with him on Letterman. Interviewed him on Netflix, and he said he's doing when he does shows. He was up at what's the place in Uncasville, Connecticut, the casino up there, and he was doing a show. And what he does is they always go find some place to go play hoops. And he said he gets he'll have good players come in. When he was up there, a couple of the UConn women came in and played. And he's still running and playing. So he's a hoopster. And Brad, you could have just gone and torched him. I mean, you could have just lit him on fire. It would have been awesome.
Hold up now. He might be in better shape than I am right now, to be honest.
No,
he's at least been playing some.
You'll be doing this.
Yeah.
They'll put you in your coffin and your elbow will be in.
The last time I did this was this past summer at Dorney Park, trying to win my son a prize stuffy at one of the games at one of the
Hey, Brad, are your two kids, your daughter and your son, do they play basketball?
So I'm getting my son into it right now. He's been into baseball and he does karate. My daughter, she'll shoot hoops with us when we go outside, but she's really into the arts. So she has a play coming up. She's in Frozen in 3 days.
Oh, good.
Frozen. So she's really into the arts, but they're it really, I'll tell you, when you said, why did you stick it out? And, you talk about persistence as a human, as a person, as a dad, as a husband, as a leader, those things that you learn as a player when things get tough, puts things in perspective. And, when parenting gets tough, you kind of lean into those days that you had as a player, knowing that, that helped prepare you for this stage in life a lot.
100%. I talk about this with my boys and my wife all the time. They're kind of amazed at how even keeled is not the right word, but I guess I'm not as stressed as some other members of my family. And I'd say, I was humbled every day in practice, especially at the college level, right? I mean, you guys maybe not as much because you were both star players, but every day I was told that I wasn't that good, right? And that'll shape you, right? For sure.
Yeah, well, I think and it imprints in you a little bit when you're not in Williamsport or Palmyra or Montclair. Like you are now there kind of on your own, and you got different people telling you whether you're good or not, or whether you belong or not, right? And it's one of those things, Brett. And I would like to ask you. We end up talking to people about this because you're around education now. People come to Dickinson and they're not sure what they want to do, or they think they want to major in business, but there's no business major, or they want to do something like this, and they wonder, hey, can I do that at that school? And how do you look at that? We always think, look, what do you want? You want to have a PhD? Do you want to hear somebody who's a CEO of a company? You want to hear about like somebody who does the arts? Like you can do kind of anything you want, but that's kind of squishy. How do you look at that? You're around education. What would you tell these kids that are at liberal arts, particularly Dickinson, and maybe aren't sure what they want to do, but they can kind of do anything they want? Many of them. How would you talk to them? How would you counsel them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's on a one-to-one basis. My general advice being, aside from knowing them individually, would be, if you can think of like 4 squares or a quadrant, like the maybe columns being what you're good at and the row being what you like to do, try to find something that you like to do and that you enjoy, whether it's mentoring people, counseling people, being around finance, practicing law, looking at policy. If you like doing that stuff, and then also what you're good at, you know what I mean? Because some people, they like doing something, but they're not good at it. Other people are good at something, they don't like to do it. So if you can find that sweet spot of what you like to do, what you enjoy, and also that you're good at, go for that. But also I would say, I don't think major matters. I really don't, specifically. And I'll give you some examples. My one of my buddies majored in political science at Gettysburg College and moved up the ranks at Merrill Lynch and is in finance. I have another friend who went to Haverford who majored in English, and now he's a like managing director for pharmaceuticals for a pharmaceutical sale company. So the biggest thing is whatever you major in, learn to become a successful problem solver. You know what I mean? And whatever you're doing at work, if you're killing it, if you're going to work and you're killing it, not being a pest or not being, overly aggressive, you know what I mean? But if you're just doing your job over and over again, people are going to take note of that,
Yeah.
The other thing I would say to people is try to grab onto someone early, try to grab onto a vet, because not only will that help you, but, vets at companies like younger people to see them as mentors. They like to mentor other people. You know what I mean? But that would be my advice.
What Dickinson basketball player would you say was your mentor when you entered that program?
So we were really young. We had like a group of 3 seniors, and then my first year, and then we were almost all freshmen.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So I would say I had a little bit of a mix my freshman year, a little bit from John Schwadron, a little bit from Billy Hagan. And then, Jimmy Martelli transferred in. Actually, it was halfway between halfway into my freshman year, Jimmy transferred in. And he and I became pretty close, and we would talk basketball. So he and I were kind of on the same page in terms of how that went. But no, I think it's extremely important. We didn't have a lot of, again, when I was a freshman, we didn't have a lot of sophomores. We didn't have a lot of juniors.
Interesting.
I was really thrown to the wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens. And it's so Ziggy, I think we did a nice job handling the important questions. I have, of course, hoops questions. Because Litch has games of 39, couple of 37.
Yeah.
including 9 of 17 from 3 against McDaniel.
Saw that.
Little bit of a heat checker that night.
Mhm.
So what's your game that you look back on when you're not having stress dreams that you have to go in and play for Dennis Census today? When you're not having those and you look back and smile, what was your team's biggest win while you were there? It might have been Franklin Marshall at Franklin Marshall that year.
Yeah.
And what was your biggest game where you kind of look back and go, hey, man, I had it going that day? Like,
Yeah.
Tell me what you got.
So the game I think that I most appreciated, there's actually 2. We beat F&M at F&M both my junior and senior years. And of course, what's their gym called? Is it the Mazer Center?
Mazer Center, yeah, or that's the place I have nightmares about. Please continue.
Yeah. So that was playing there my freshman and sophomore year. They were so good those years. They killed us, and they get good crowds too. So the crowd's riding you, but you also kind of like it. It's like, all right, I haven't experienced this in a while. You know what I mean? But I remember when we beat them my senior year, I remember taking the ball and just kind of rolling it over to the dip zone, who were riding us all game, and saying, I remember I said to Census after, I was like, so long, Mazer Center. He goes, well, wait, we might have to play a playoff game here. I was like, oh, good point. So those 2 games definitely stick out. My actually final 2 games of my career, we played Muhlenberg at home and we played Gettysburg on the road. And we were down. Muhlenberg had us down. This is my second to last game. They had us down by like 6-8 in the second half, and we actually came back and won. We were down by 2. I shot a 3 at the buzzer and made it, and we ended up winning that. And then the next game at Gettysburg, same situation. We ended up coming back. We were down by 3. I hit a leaning 3-pointer in the corner. I was fouled. They didn't call, but it went in. And
they didn't call it.
So I was able to end my career with 2 buzzer beaters, but we ended up losing that game. But we should have won that game because that was definitely an and one. But
yeah. And by the way, as we discussed before this started, before Brad came in, he shot 86% from the foul line his career. He wasn't missing that one. He was gonna long losers like you did at Mazer.
Wait, can we go back? I want to our listeners, of which I'm sure there are many. I saw this in the record book too. So he has 3 of the top 8 all-time highest scoring games. Is that right? 3 of the top 7. It's something like that. Like you said, 139, 237s. That's impressive.
It's a lot of baskets. That's a lot of baskets.
When you shoot the ball as much as I did, you're bound to catch some fish every now and then.
I was noticing as we were looking through the defensive and assist statistics, your name omitted a little bit. But that's
yeah. You might not see any picture of me in a defensive.
I love it. So you have a great personal career. You maybe unfulfilling team career a little bit in a tough spot. I mean, like you get recruited by one person, you get somebody else. He's good. You come in a weird situation where it's seniors and freshmen, and that's weird. Like that's hard. And so what's the highlight for you of your experience playing hoops? And it can be something in the locker room, something in a snack bar. Like, what do you look back fondly on your time and say, man, that was fun, or that was great?
Yeah, absolutely. Over the course of the 4 years, it was the brotherhood that you experienced, being part of it. And, at the time, Coach Census was trying to build a culture. And I can see now that Coach Soretti and with you guys, what you're doing here now is reflective of the current culture that's in place. But, you kind of take those times for granted with your teammates in the locker room, going to the cafeteria, going to the maybe you're going to the movies over winter break. Having that time with each other is really a special time. And it's kind of a time that you're not going to experience at any other part in your life, unless, of course, you're a part of a team, a very close-knit team at like a work or you're a coach yourself. But, it's absolutely that. Between my junior and senior year, Coach Census took us to Europe. We went to England, Ireland, Wales. That was a good experience, but absolutely the relationships you form while you're there, because again, we didn't win a lot of games, but we were all there for each other. And that's one of the, I think, reasons why I also stuck it out, is I knew I was part of something. And look, we weren't winning like I would have liked to, right? I would have loved to win 10 more games a year, but we were there for each other. And again, that really will follow you the rest of your life.
Yep.
Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, so I like to ask people, and I have a story about this, which I won't share here, but I always share at the Alumni Hoops Weekend. What did you learn in your 4 years playing basketball at Dickinson? It could be on the floor, it could be in the locker, whatever. But as part of playing Dickinson basketball, that you have found the most useful in your professional career?
That's a good question. Obviously, the first one of the ones that jumps out right away is resilience. You know what I mean? Resilience in the face of adversity. I mean, you get knocked down so many times. How many more times can you get up? But you keep getting up and you keep fighting, because that's why you play and that's why you're there. The other one, there's something else that just jumped to my mind that slipped it. Shoot. Oh, I know what it was. Keep your ego in check. Keep your ego in check. I came from a smaller school. In high school, we were, beating out of smaller teams, advancing in the state playoffs, and then you're facing these Division I type players from Franklin and Marshall, and you realize that maybe you're not as good as you thought you were, and that you have a lot more work to do, and but don't get discouraged about that, because there's always room for improvement. But I would say those are the two biggest things: resilience and keeping your ego in check.
I mean, I love the resilience point, and the Dickinson basketball is struggling right now. They're 1-8, and I texted my mentee after Saturday's game, and I said, "Look, you've played some tough teams, right? 4 of your losses are top 20 teams. You've only played 2 games at home. You've been on the road, and you've been at neutral sites." I said, "You're a junior now. Keep the faith, keep the resilience. It's all about the conference season, and you can make the playoffs, and you can still make something about this, right?" And so and he doesn't realize it now, right? But he's going to look back when he's 42, and he's going to be like, "I learned something from that season."
Yeah, yeah. You want to? How did I respond then? Right, like you will always remember, always. So, Brad, less serious. Who's the best player you played against in high school, and then who's the best player you played against in college?
So in high school, believe it or not, because I grew up also going to the Mason-Dixon basketball camp, which now is at Frostburg State. So Morgan Wooten in DeMatha, he's a Hall of Fame coach. Yeah. My dad had a friendship with him. So my sophomore year, we went down and played DeMatha, who was nationally ranked. And then my junior year, they actually came to us and played us. And they came on this huge charter bus, TV, big screens. So everyone that was coming to the game wanted to check out their bus, all the fans. But they had a player my sophomore year named Billy Edelin, who Billy was an All-American and ended up – he was
Syracuse. He played Syracuse? Yeah.
3 team with Jerry McNamara. They played together. They were the backcourt. So Billy, he didn't end up playing the whole game because my sophomore year, they beat us by like 30. And he wasn't there junior year, but my junior year, they had 2 big guys. One name was Jordan Collins, a 6'10" guy who played at NC State. And then Travis Garrison, who was a 6'8" guy who played at Maryland. So those 2 were like unstoppable underneath.
How many 6'8" guys did you have in your high school at Newman?
We didn't. We had 2. We had one 6'7" guy and one 6'6" guy.
All right.
But yeah, we were no match for them. But yeah, Billy Edelin he was good. And unfortunately, I don't know what exactly happened when he was at Syracuse. I don't think he played all 4 years at Syracuse, but when he was there, I mean, he was tough, man.
Yeah, I remember him. How about college? Who's the best player you went against?
So Dennis Stanton was really good at Ursinus, but I always say the toughest player that I played against was my freshman and he was a junior and senior when I was a freshman and sophomore. His name was Duran Searles from F&M. He was 6'2", 6'3". I mean, he was strong. He was, in my mind, he was Division I talent, and he didn't put up a lot of stats, but he was still like first team all conference. But he would silently get you like 14 points, 8 assists, 5 or 6 rebounds. and he was just solid all around. So he was good, man.
Brad, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Dennis Stanton go to Dickinson for a year?
He did, and he transferred
to Ursinus, right?
Yeah, after his freshman year. So
Yeah.
I missed him by I think 2 years. He was 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that dreaded D3 transfer again.
Ziggy, that dude scored 1 million points in college, right? I mean, Brad, he averaged like some crazy number. Ursinus went to the Final Four when he was there, I believe.
I don't know that they went that far. I don't think
have to look it up.
He ended up scoring like against like that F&M team. He ended up scoring like 50 some points.
Yeah.
We played Bucknell my sophomore year, and like 2 weeks after we played Bucknell, Ursinus played Bucknell, and he had like 37, 38 points, something like that on Bucknell. Yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
So can we go back to 2,000 points? So did you score like your 2,000th point in your last game, or were you like at 2,100?
I ended up with 2,087.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I scored my 2,000th point in our first round of district playoffs my senior year.
Got it. Yeah. Because, we I don't know if this is right for Cope, but I played against one D3 2,000 point scorer my sophomore year.
Enfield. Andy Enfield.
Johns Hopkins scored his 2,000th against.
Oh, Andy Enfield was a 2,000 point scorer. Okay.
He scored 2,000 point against us in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Okay. He's at SMU now, right? Didn't he leave?
Yeah.
He's at SMU.
SMU? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So, I think I was just trying to think who would have been the best player you would have played against in that era. And I wasn't sure who. I'm always curious to hear who you say, because we always sort of know who some of these people are. And I remember Searles. He was a very good player. So, Ziggy, what else you got? What else you got for Brad?
No, this has been great. Great to get to know you. And I know that you got small kids. So, but we'd love to have you back at an AHW Alumni Hoops Weekend because you are an important part of our program, Brad. So thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no, thanks guys for having me. I mean, this is great. It's nice going down memory lane, connecting with Dickinson basketball guys, and appreciate, Bram and I, we text a lot. So, appreciative of just staying connected to the program. You know what I mean? And it's great. It's really great seeing them have a lot of success in recent years, making runs into the tournament and being in the Centennial Conference Championship and winning the championship, and get to live some of my dreams through the court.
Same here. Yeah. Well, listen, buddy, it's great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Brad.
And all right, Ziggy. So we now know Brad Litchfield of 06 Dickinson Red Devil fame.
That was great.
So what's your takeaway from him?
Oh, it's great to meet him. Obviously, I've seen his name in the record book for a long time. I had heard about him when he was playing, but of course we couldn't stream back then, right? So I'd never laid eyes on him. So that was just great to get that historical player back into the fold. And I'll tell you what, Cope, I thought the most important moment was when we started talking about resilience. Right. That's the thing that playing college basketball will give you. It brought back memories, and it just kind of resonated with me. Yeah,
me too. And it was very honest, and I really liked that. I thought he had great advice too about, finding a vet, getting a mentor. I also, of course, what an idiot I am. I love the fact that he is still irritated that they didn't call him the foul on the and one, because he would have finished his career with 2 game winners. You could see what made him good. He got chippy. I love it. I love this stuff. So,
and the stress dream, the recurring dream. Right? How great is that?
That's why he was a good player, man. I love it. So, Ziggy, it was great seeing you.
Good to see you.
We'll hear and see everybody again soon on Please Allow Me to Introduce Myself.
Great.